number 2 for you. We're going to hear some very interesting things this hour. I'm going to start out by playing a little something for you. I just want you to listen. This is part of a trailer of one of the most important, remarkable documentaries of our time. This has nuances and major tentacles that reach all over the place. So let's listen to just a little bit of this.
My message is to the parents of Trayvon Martin. You know, if I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon.
The shooting death of Trayvon Martin was ground zero for racial division in America.
Trayvon Martin was killed for wearing a hoodie, quite frankly.
I decided to produce a film on how the case affects American politics to this day. It had started as a self-defense case, but then, out of the blue, they found Trayvon's girlfriend.
She is a minor child.
This phone witness led to the most racially divisive trial since O.J. The girlfriend had written Trayvon's mother a letter.
I put it in a box.
Did you sign it at the bottom?
Yes.
What name did you use?
Diamond Eugene.
Diamond Eugene. Now remember that. We're going to get into this story. This, of course, is the Trayvon Hoax, a documentary film which was scheduled to be shown in a Florida theater. And guess what happened? At the last minute, well, we'll get the details from Joel Gilbert, the producer of the film, a brilliant filmmaker and a good friend of this program. Joel, welcome back. Thanks for being here.
Great to be back. Thank you so much.
You bet. All right, let's tell our friends out there what the hell happened in Florida.
Well, this was a film screening and press conference that I was going to hold with Larry Klayman, is the attorney for George Zimmerman, and people know, of course, George Zimmerman from the shooting death of Trayvon Martin back in 2012. And I have come out with a film and a book companion, which we've talked about on your show back in September of last year. Showed the film at the National Press Club and held a press conference. Had a fantastic turnout. Decent coverage. MSM stayed away, but was very successful. We had students from Howard University, historically black college, and people just loved the film and looked at this story. Of course, the film is about the Trayvon Hoax, unmasking the witness fraud that divided America. So what I did is I researched the Trayvon Martin case by reading Trayvon Martin's 750-page cell phone records and all the other public documents from the trial. And I discovered that the key witness for the prosecution, people remember Rachel Gintel, the kind of plus-sized Haitian-American girl who couldn't read her own writing from the case, that found out that she was not Trayvon's girlfriend. She was not on the phone with Trayvon Martin before he was killed. And I found the real girlfriend, of course, Diamond Eugene. She's in the movie. And I chronicled how the real girlfriend was switched for a fake witness. And this was all in order to get Zimmerman arrested because the police had exonerated George Zimmerman as a self-defense case. And only by using this fake witness were they able to get Zimmerman arrested, and all the resulting mayhem and division in the country resulted from this case.
What a disgusting thing to hear again. Just makes me sick every time I hear it.
Well, when you hear about race hoaxes and fake witnesses, fake whistleblowers, people don't really realize that it all kind of started, now we know, with this case in the modern era, fake news, where the media could just make up anything and roll with it and get away with it. It kind of started right here. So this was 3 months later. You're talking about the Coral Gables situation in Florida. George Zimmerman hired the attorney Larry Klayman, who founded Judicial Watch, and actually filed a lawsuit based on the information in my film and book that show that several people knew that there was a fake witness, the key witness, Rachel Gintel, that Trayvon Martin's mother knew about it, likely prosecutors, other people.
Yes.
And it's kind of like there's kind of a wave of this. It's going to be kind of like the year of accountability in 2020. Nicholas Sandmann, Cheryl Atkinson suing, a lot of these high-profile cases of people that were abused by the Justice Department or the justice system under Obama are now trying to get accountability. So I had scheduled this film screening at Coral Gables Art Cinema, nice cinema, independent theater in Coral Gables, Florida, and I was going to hold a short press conference beforehand, and Larry Klayman was going to be there, and George Zimmerman was going to come, and we actually put out a press release and had fabulous response. CNN, Fox News, all the local stations, Miami Herald, you name it. Tremendous response by RSVP for a private event for the press only, not even advertised to the public. Private
that
press
doesn't
event.
happen. That's really, really rare. That doesn't happen.
Well, we just got a fabulous response. So it was going to be like the National Press Club, a nice big turnout. And as you alluded earlier, what happened is, now this was all arranged 2 weeks in advance. I'm in Los Angeles. I signed a contract with the theater. I filled out all the information they requested. I paid in advance. They asked me to get insurance and name them as an insured, which I did. All the documentation provided, no problem. I arrive in Florida, arrange hotels, guests, press release, publicity, and they had asked me to come to the theater the day before just to test my Blu-ray disc to make sure it worked on the system properly. It was no problem. It's very, very common. You go and you double check the day before. And I was just about to arrive at the theater less than 24 hours before the screening, and the manager calls me and says they're canceling it. And I said, well, why? And she said, well, the mayor had called, and the city council of Coral Gables and the city attorney were in her lobby at the theater and demanding the cancellation. I said, you can't do that. It's censorship. We have a contract, breach of contract. I've got a lot of money tied up in this. And she said, I'll call you back in 15 minutes. I'll see what I can do. 15 minutes later, called me back and would not even talk to me. She just said, we're canceling it. And that's what started this process where I decided to file a lawsuit, because it's a case of censorship and breach of contract. And we've just had too much of this censorship of people who want to tell the truth.
On behalf of myself and all those who care about reality and the truth, thank you. This is a big thing you're doing. How stupid can those people at that theater be? That's a crime.
Look, it got even stupider, because this lady named Brenda Moe, she's the co-executive director, she started giving interviews to the press who were shocked. They were all planning on coming. They started calling her and saying, why did you do this? And she got herself in even worse hot water, because here's what she said. She told Miami CBS 4, she said, I did not have a contract, which I did, and I provided it to CBS 4. She told the Daily Dot no transaction was made. Then she admitted that they don't have any criteria to censor or preview or approve content. They simply rent out the room. They don't put it on their marquee. They don't sell tickets. They don't do anything. They don't advertise. It's just you rent the room. See you later. Yeah. So she really stepped into it by lying and saying that I didn't have a contract to try to make me look foolish. I'm really going to come from California and invite the national press without a rental agreement, which is actually, it's in the lawsuit. We've provided it there as an exhibit. So I'm hoping, I'm getting a lot of people like you are saying, thanks for standing up. We've had enough of this ridiculous censorship.
They're toast. This is big. This is a big case. Big.
Yeah, look, another thing they said, they mentioned that her story kept changing, but something else she said was, well, they got inundated with emails and were afraid that protesters might show up. So there she's saying fear of a potential mob is a reason to break a contract. Now, interestingly, there was this group called the Dream Defenders, which is kind of a militant racist group that is pretends to be in the interest of African Americans and black people, but in fact they're a hardcore Marxist group that are pro-Palestinian terrorists, and they're kind of a precursor to Black Lives Matter. So in fact, we looked at their Twitter account of this Dream Defenders, and they were tweeting things like, everybody go and throw down and pull up at the theater. So who knows? But the point is, of course, we did have a signed contract and a rental agreement and went to tremendous trouble and expense, and they had no right to cancel it.
One of the reasons I just jumped on this when I saw the stories that you had filed, and what they had done to you is because the same thing happened to David Icke about a year ago in a theater in Santa Monica. You know the story. I had David on the program. We talked. I've known David for over 30 years. We talked all about that. He was in the car on the way to the theater for the showing when he got a call on the cell phone, and they canceled. And it's the same thing. Total censorship.
Look, I don't know if it's fear of the mob. I mean, if you have a signed contract, you can't break the contract. Now, I'll give you another example. The Jesse Waters show on Fox News booked me to come on the Jesse Waters show.
Yeah.
And it was about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I flew to New York, and there I was the day of the show, of the taping. It was on a Friday afternoon. At about 11 o'clock, the producer emailed me and said, we had some other things come up, so we can't tape you today. So I said, well, why don't you go ahead and tape me today, and you can have me on a future show. And she said, no. So they just kind of dropped me like that, like a rock, even though they had booked me on this show. Now, I didn't
Did they fly you back, Joel? Did they fly you back?
No, they didn't.
Okay.
I didn't take that up, but that's not quite as bad as that is. It's not quite the same as having a signed contract that you pay for in advance.
Of course. Yeah.
But it is an example of where people change their mind all of a sudden, but you can't do it if you have a signed contract and someone has paid in advance and gone to so much trouble.
Insurance, the works. You did it all.
Did it all.
Really, that woman, they let her flap her gums like that. How stupid.
Look, it's an independent theater. It's actually a partnership between this theater company and the city of Coral Gables, which owns the building. And while she told me on the phone that
she told me on the phone that the city of Coral
Gables is the one that had opposed this, but then her story just kept changing. So the disparagement
you're going to find out.
Well.
You're going to find out. We're going to find out. Yes, sir. It's called discovery.
That's right.
Oh my. I'm sorry, I got to laugh. Out of all this is going to come more notice for your film, more exposure. You know the old saying, there's no such thing as bad publicity. And this is such a powerful film. Yeah.
I know it. Thank you. Well, I'm going to before I let them settle on any financial amount, I'm asking for $670,000, which is probably a modest amount because I probably would have had a lot more value in earned media had they allowed my show to proceed as scheduled.
Yes.
But in terms of accepting any settlement, in addition to financial remuneration, I'm going to require that they show the movie at the theater every night for a week. So that'll have to be part of any settlement. For sure.
Good job. When you were at the National Press Club, and you said there were a lot of Howard University kids, black kids came, students, young men and women. What were your thoughts? And tell me about, you already mentioned it went over really well, but I want to hear more about that. That's interesting. I wonder if they came loaded for Joel Gilbert. They were looking for, to boo, I wonder how many of them were brainwashed and had been duped by this Trayvon fraud, this hoax that the trial was.
They came because they were interested, because it seemed intriguing, and they got it. Good. They got it right away. I mean, they knew that something was wrong with his story. And typically, all African Americans say to me, they say, "Look, we knew Rachel Jeantel was not the girlfriend. Tell us something we didn't know, but we didn't understand how they used this to divide us and to make us fearful." And the reaction was, all the black people that have seen this film, I've been to screenings, including the 2 security guards at the National Press Club. They just really appreciate it. They say, man, you really did the research and showed us the true story. One gal who had emailed me said she watched the film and read the book, and she said, I have a black son, and I was afraid for him to grow up in America. I grew up with this Trayvon stuff, and now I realize we got played. And she said, thank you. So Moen has suffered more from this Trayvon hoax than the black youth of America.
I was just going to mention that. The black community, hell, youth especially, they were just, that is the word, played. They were just abused, misused. That's unfortunately kind of common for the American community of African Americans, and they just get, they always get hosed.
Democrats and the media have made it an art form to try to create racial incidences and exploit them to garner votes and to push this narrative of fear. And that's why the Trayvon hoax, I coined the term, it's the substitution of a legitimate phone witness whose name was Diamond Eugene, who was on the phone with Trayvon Martin, the 16-year-old girlfriend, for a fake witness, 18-year-old Rachel Gentile. And the Trayvon hoax is also the name I give to the hoax the media plays on black Americans every day, that there's armed white men in the streets and police that want to shoot you because of your skin color.
Yeah.
So that's the Trayvon hoax. And by the way, anyone, I suggest you start by looking at the trailer at thetrayvonhoax.com. You can actually live stream the movie right there and also get the book.
Let me see. I think it's okay. Watch the trailer here. Look under Joel's name and guests. Watch the trailer here. It's right there. In fact, what I'm going to do is, it's only 3 minutes. I'm going to play the whole trailer now. We heard the beginning of it, so here's the rest of it.
Okay.
My message is to the parents of Trayvon Martin. If I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon.
The shooting death of Trayvon Martin was ground zero for racial division in America.
Trayvon Martin was killed for wearing a hoodie, quite frankly.
I decided to produce...
I got to stop that. That's that Andrew Gillum.
Correct.
That opportunist. I think he's really a phony. I never liked that guy.
Well,
you heard him.
He was trained in the George Soros training school called the Rockwood Institute up in San Francisco, and he
just answered the whole thing. I didn't know that.
Right. Absolutely. This is the radical left, white liberals realized that if they had a screaming old white man saying revolution, that most black people would not buy into it. And they came up with this formula, which Obama was part of, that if you get a really friendly black guy to just say general things like change and hope, that they can trick black people into following these guys, even though it has nothing to do with helping them.
So there actually is a Soros school, so to speak, to teach communist Bolshevik tactics. That's what they're doing.
Absolutely. It's in San Francisco. Obama studied at the Midwest Academy in Chicago. Same thing. It's a group of 60s radicals, white liberals, that push this agenda. And if you look at the Black Lives Matter website, by the way, it's in my film, Black Lives Matter says they were founded because of the Trayvon Martin case. And look at their agenda. The agenda for Black Lives Matter, you'd think it has something to do with helping black people, but no. It says collectivism, transgenderism, globalism, and
socialism,
black villages.
Bolshevism, it's communism. It's what we're up against here in this country. Okay, that's what
nothing to do with black people or helping black Americans.
No.
Zero.
No, they're being used like they always are. This Andrew Gillum. Here, listen to this again. This is Andrew Gillum when he was really pushing it.
A hoodie, quite frankly.
I decided to produce a film.
Just a little bit. There we go.
Killed for wearing a hoodie, quite frankly.
That's what Gillum says. He was killed for wearing a hoodie.
Yeah, let me give you a couple other quotes from Andrew Gillum. He's in the film also. During the debates when he was running against Ron DeSantis, he said to DeSantis, I don't believe you're a racist, but the racists believe you're a racist. And he'd say other racial things like, I was born black, I'm going to die black. What does this have to do with anything? He was race-based. He was taught by the white liberal socialists in San Francisco, push the race issue because...
Race baiter.
Yeah, if you tell people your real program, that it's globalism, open borders, transgenderism, black people won't vote for you. So push the race nonsense, and this is what Gillum was doing in that election, and the Trayvon Martin case was a huge part of this. Gillum literally built his career on this Trayvon Martin case,
he did,
which I expose now was a total hoax, and people that see it are just shocked and amazed and really the most thankful people are African Americans that are emailing me and writing reviews and saying, they say things like, this is a tough pill to swallow for those of us who took it hook, line, and sinker, but we had to know. And because it led to that,
bravo
it
to
led
that
to the
young man or
Ferguson
woman.
effect,
Good.
hands up, don't shoot. Ferguson effect is the police no longer do proactive policing. And it led to a crime disaster in black neighborhoods, 33% rise in homicides. So all this started at this ground zero was this Trayvon Martin hoax that the media was in on, Al Sharpton was in on it, the Obama DOJ was in on it. All these people were in on this hoax to trick mostly black Americans into believing this narrative.
And they had the total cooperation of the mainstream media, which is owned, in case you didn't know it, dear friends, all of it, virtually all of it, by 6 corporations who are all in bed together, pushing the same agenda. Very simple. Boy, did they play. They didn't just play African Americans. They played all of us with that.
Yep, they did.
Wow. Hold on a minute. Joel and I will be right back with more, and we'll finish listening to the trailer and some other things as well. Hold on. Okay, let's get right back to it. Joel Gilbert is our guest this hour, the Trayvon Hoax. Look at the trailer underneath. I'm going to play the rest of it right now. I would urge you to get this documentary. This will show you, in no uncertain terms, how you are being abused and manipulated by the deep state machine, which is the mainstream media. Okay? All right. Here we go. Here's the rest of it. Anything you want to say, Joel, before we jump back in this?
Let's do it.
Okay, here we go.
To produce a film on how the case affects American politics to this day. It had started as a self-defense case, but then, out of the blue, they found Trayvon's girlfriend.
She is a minor child.
This phone witness led to the most racially divisive trial since O.J. The girlfriend had written Trayvon's mother a letter.
I put it in a box.
Did you sign it at the bottom?
Yes.
What name did you use?
Diamond Eugene.
My investigation started with Trayvon's 750-page cell phone records. I made a shocking discovery. Trayvon did have a girlfriend named Diamond Eugene, but she wasn't the witness at the trial. To understand what really happened, I knew I had to find the real Diamond. My research took me to the back alleys of Little Haiti.
Maybe they can help me find Diamond.
Yeah, maybe they will help.
To the high schools of Miami Gardens. To Florida's capital city of Tallahassee. And finally, to Sanford, Florida, where I got to know George Zimmerman. For the first time, he revealed Trayvon's last words.
I heard him say, "Tell Mama Alicia I'm sorry."
Then I found a tape where Rachel confessed to prosecutors.
Real guilty.
Why do you feel real guilty?
I ain't know about it. I ain't know about it.
And then, finally, I found Trayvon's real girlfriend, Diamond Eugene. I was then able to reconstruct the shocking story of what really happened the month before and after the shooting. I used forensic handwriting analysis and even DNA to confirm what I had uncovered. That Diamond was switched for a fake witness in a murder trial in the most stunning hoax in American judicial history, a hoax whose consequences have been tragic beyond anyone's imagination. In telling this story, my hope is to show how politicians and the media have pulled us apart when our shared aspirations have always been to come together as one nation.
There you go.
There it is. Wow. What an enormous story. I don't want to belabor this, but thanks, Joel. You really have done an incredible patriotic service to all Americans with this, and I hope all of you listening will watch this.
Well, thank you very much. I actually am up for a Pulitzer Prize for 2019. I actually
Fabulous.
I'm not a nominee, but I paid $75 and self-entered. So I am an entry, but I'm not yet a nominee. So let's see how that plays out. It is at Columbia University. That's who decides.
Well, okay. All right, I get it. Well, that's okay. You did the right thing. This is such an important story. It's crucial to understanding how the American legal system can be so perverted and corrupted with ease and with the full and knowledgeable consent of some of the principal players. This is bad.
It is, when you look back, you just can't believe what they did, and my head is still spinning even though I worked on this for a year. You just look at how could the prosecutors not have known? Why did the media not even bother to look at this material that was public for 6 years until I chose to look at it? But we see it continuing. The Kavanaugh disgrace, even this fake whistleblower where they don't get to talk to him, they don't get to call witnesses. It's a subversion of the judicial system on a grand scale, and it's just shocking because the judiciary is supposed to be the last resort, the referee, the fair umpire, that if you got overzealous prosecutors, if you've got a fake witness, they're going to figure it out in the judicial system. But unfortunately, we see again and again the judicial system is part of the conspiracy. And in this case, there was a conspiracy between multiple people that substituted in Rachel Jeantel in order to get Zimmerman arrested.
Be careful, my friend. Just be careful. You know what happens, and you know the game better than anyone. This is big stuff. This is big stuff. What's the scheduled trial timeline on this?
Well, there's going to be two parallel things going on. George Zimmerman has his case where I believe they have to provide an answer pretty soon. He's suing like 10 people: Rachel Jeantel, Diamond Eugene, Trayvon's parents, the state of Florida, Benjamin Crump, the attorney for the Martin family. He's running around the country right now with a new book. It's called Open Season: Legalized Genocide of Colored People. And he defames Zimmerman in this book.
Still playing the game. Still playing the game.
He's trying to, he made himself out to be this self-styled civil rights attorney. And he shows up in every single case now. For instance, there's a new one in Boca Raton that he's taking up where there were some kids that stole a car. The police chased the car. One of the kids was African American. He ran out of the car and jumped into the canal to try to get away from police and drowned. And they're saying he's saying that the police did something wrong and that they should have jumped in to save him or something. I don't know the whole story, but typically someone has committed a crime, and in the course of doing that crime, something tragic happens, and Crump is there to blame the police, and that's really had a terrible effect on policing. But Zimmerman's trial is going to start, I think, with some discovery that's going to take place and depositions. I don't know the exact schedule, but I assume he'd be going to trial this summer. And that's going to be very fascinating to see how they try to wiggle out of all the facts that I've come up with, let alone the discovery that I think they're going to get. In my case, this is the case against the Coral Gables. I expect it to move along in a similar pattern. Zimmerman's case is in Polk County in Central Florida where he lives, and I'm going to be in Miami-Dade County. And look, I would think or hope, I think in both these cases there is no defense. So you'd hope or think that these people would settle, admit to their wrongdoing, and pay some substantial penalties. Let's see what happens over the next few months.
Right. I don't. How can either one of these things honestly go to trial? You're right. This is really embarrassing for all of us. Okay. So you think you may have some things in the works by this coming summer then?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I'm as curious as anybody to see Zimmerman get these characters under oath. Knowing what really happened.
And you're going to be called. You'll be called. They're going to use your film. You watch. They'll probably pull a lot of stuff from your film.
Yeah. Well,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, the depositions are going to be fascinating because I've seen, 16 hours of Rachel Jeantel being deposed, and she's just lying and lying and lying, but the prosecution didn't know she was a fake witness. So now, with the information that we have, it'll be just fascinating to me to see Larry Klayman, Zimmerman's attorney, just take her apart. I can't imagine that she wouldn't try to cut a deal.
No. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Because she did commit perjury. She committed perjury. That's a crime.
That's a big crime. How is George Zimmerman doing? He went through hell.
He seems to look. When I met him a little over a year ago, look, he was a mess. He suffers from severe PTSD. He is in therapy still. He can't work. He can't circulate. He can't date. He has to go around in a disguise. His family and him are both in hiding to this day. There's always rap songs and social media rants about murdering him. Someone did try to kill him about 2 years ago, shot at him, missed him by 20 inches. The guy's serving 20 years in jail. So he really has suffered tremendously and continues to do so. He seems to be doing a little better. I've been in touch with him. He seems to be somewhat inspired by fighting back and realizing that maybe there is an important place in history for him to show that you can't get away with victimizing people that have already been exonerated by the police.
Wow. Well, this will be fascinating. You got the idea to take this on. You did it all. This is another Joel Gilbert one-man production. Did anybody tell you, don't touch it, Joel? No, you better not go there. Don't do it.
Look, when I started and I realized pretty quickly there was something wrong with the key witness, that the voice of Rachel Jeantel did not match the voice of the girl on the phone with Benjamin Crump. It just wasn't the same voice. I have a lot of experience in music and editing, and I could tell right away the pitch, the tone, the syntax, everything was different. So I did mention it to a few friends of mine and just supporters of mine, and it's true. They were like, "Ooh, I don't know about this one. Maybe that's not a story anybody wants to know about." And I thought it was so important and so compelling because I knew that this is where the racial division started, out of the blue. I grew up in Tennessee in the 70s and 80s, black and white kids all together, never heard the N-word, never saw any racism, and had somebody seen it or there had been something like that, they wouldn't have gotten away with it. So they wanted to tell us that 40, 50 years later, America became racist. Everything's racist. So I found that offensive, and I thought if we can find out where this started and expose it and get to the bottom of it, maybe it can turn things around.
Well, that's a pretty noble goal, and we owe you, all of us owe you. This is going to do more to equalize the playing field than anything I could even imagine. I hope Zimmerman, I hope this goes to trial. I hope they don't settle because I want to see this in the media. I want to see these people all dragged out and exposed for what they are, dirt, liars, and all the rest of it. I'm so sick of it. We have been just put through the mill of depravity by this. It's awful what's happened to all Americans.
It's true. I mean, look, you've even got Sabrina Fulton, Trayvon Martin's mother, is running for Miami-Dade commissioner. She's a politician. She was endorsed by Hillary Clinton, Cory Booker, Elizabeth Warren. I have no doubt they're intending to bring her out to the Democrat convention, just like they did in 2016, to repeat the Trayvon hoax and tell America we're racist and we're intolerant.
They're actually going to stand up and keep lying. Wow.
That's the plan. So I would like Sabrina Fulton and all these people to come forward. I know that I don't foresee any settlement on my end, and hopefully not Zimmerman, without a full public admission of what they did, because it's that important to
America needs
history
it.
And
America deserves it. Correct. You've got to turn history back and put it on the rails. It's run off the rails now. We can't have that. Can't have it. Wow. Joel's film is, I think, the single most important political documentary that I've seen maybe ever, because of the ramifications of this. Coast to coast, so many Americans involved of different racial backgrounds. It's crucial. But that said, I'm going to go back to when I first came across Joel Gilbert, and at the time, and I'll still say it, was the most important political documentary I had ever seen. Political documentary. Dreams from My Real Father, released in 2012, a one-man job again by Joel Gilbert, who is nothing less than brilliant in the way he presents this material. Now, Wikipedia, for example, if you look up Dreams from My Real Father, the smear is on there. It's kind of a lowbrow smear. It says reviews of the film were generally negative, noting that Gilbert had not proved any of his allegations, and the film was described as a pseudo-documentary and in, quote, bad taste. Oh, my. No. This film, do you know what I thought, Joel, when I saw this film? You can't answer that, but what I thought, honest to God, when I saw this film, and here's Obama running for re-election, okay, 2012. Yep. I said, the Mossad has contacted Joel, or he's working with them somehow. He got hold of the truth. Somebody didn't want Obama in there for a second term, and they gave Joel Gilbert, or he found it, the truth. That's how I perceived it. It knocked me over.
I know. Look, I'll agree with you on that. Both of these documentaries are very significant. Look, I just kind of have always gone where my curiosity led me. And on the Obama's background, it became pretty clear that, his story was, my father was a goat herder from Kenya, and I'm going to bring us all together again because of my background. Now, look, I found out that line was intended to cover up his real personal background, which would have made him unelectable. And the real tagline that Obama, if he was being honest, he would have said, quote, my father was a Cold War Soviet agent and Communist Party propagandist who radicalized me in my youth, unquote. Now, all my research, even since the movie, I've gone to Corcoran State Prison where I met and visited with Obama's best friend named Keith Kakagawa that he grew up with, and he confirmed the whole story. Obama was raised by Frank Marshall Davis, a black Bolshevik out of Chicago, Communist Party Stalinist, and Soviet agent, was on the security index. Yes. He went to Hawaii to try to lead a dock workers strike to take over the island before statehood so that they could eliminate the U.S. naval forces from Hawaii that were an obstacle to Soviet expansion in Asia. Right. Obama was raised by a Russian agent, and that was, I have determined, his real biological father. Now, even if you don't care about the DNA, I've proven that Davis, even by Obama's own admission, Obama was raised by Frank Marshall Davis, and his policies in office reflect that radical agenda, and not the agenda that he said he would do when he was running for office. I'm going to cut the deficit in half, marriages between man and God and a woman. Everything was a lie about Obama, and once I realized that, I just started going with what I saw. And frankly, it's shocking to me that no one else had seen these kind of things that I see. It's just like, how come no one else noticed this?
I don't understand that. I can't answer that question. But it was right there, and yet no one would touch it. It was like he was some kind of a golden political icon that nobody should touch, and he was the savior. And they talk about getting played. We got played there too. We get played all the time.
That's right. I went to Hawaii twice now, and I investigated Obama's background. I went to Frank Marshall Davis's house. I compared the photos when Obama was a baby. He was at Frank's house. I talked to the former police chief. I got all the information. Now, I went to Hawaii twice. Now, that's a million times more than all the mainstream media went to Hawaii combined to investigate Obama's claim that he was the son of a goat herder. So, I did the effort. It wasn't that big a deal. I flew out to Hawaii for a couple of times, and I got the whole story, and I put it in a film, and I think it did have an impact.
Oh, it was huge. And I really admired what you did toward the end. You just started giving it away, DVDs, as many as you could, to try to wake America up, before they voted this guy in a second time.
I had a investor. We sent out about 1 million DVDs to swing states before the election, and that got the mainstream media just going nuts, going around them. They don't like it when you go around them and deliver information. And someone did a FEC, Federal Election Commission, complaint against me for advertising my film, and it was eventually thrown out. But the shocking thing was, it was 3-3. The 3 Democrats voted that I did need to get sent to the Justice Department for prosecution, and the 3 Republicans said, no, it's ridiculous. This is free speech. I'm a media entity. So, look, the mainstream media supported Obama's story. 4 years later, Trayvon Martin case, the black vote was not in the tank for Obama in 2012 when this incident happened. Everything had gotten worse in Black America. Unemployment 50-60%. There was racial violence, illegals coming in, taking over jobs, and the Obama State Justice Department jumped on this case to create the racial division. They even sent the Department of Justice. It's been proven through Judicial Watch. The Department of Justice actually sent allegedly investigators down to Sanford, Florida, to allegedly investigate after Zimmerman was exonerated by the local police, and they actually helped to organize protests for Zimmerman's arrest without cause. Our Department of Justice under Obama. So the corruption and malfeasance
that's Holder. That's Holder again.
The media. Look, it was a horrific experience we had of 8 years of Obama. The amount of corruption. So you don't need to wait to see, I wonder what would happen if Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders or one of these radical leftists win. We lived it. The left uses the tools of state to keep themselves in power, and they'll violate any and every law along the way, and now we know the media will just cheer them on.
Without missing a beat. No, the media is, what a shameful thing it's become in this country. Wow. Wow. These 2 films are, one of these is a career. You've done 2 of them now, and this isn't over yet. So I don't know. You just said something that's fascinating to me. His best friend you went to visit in prison, I guess. Right. Okagawa. And was he okay talking to you? Was he worried? Was he afraid? How'd that go?
I became friendly with him over time. I visited him in prison several times, talked to him once a week, exchanged letters. I'm still friendly with him.
Good.
I'm still angry that Obama didn't pardon him. He's still in prison to this day. This is his best friend from high school. And he told me the story of when Obama found out that Frank Marshall Davis was his father when he was in high school. And it was only after he had a very close relationship with Obama. Barry, as he called him, would spend time with Frank every day. Frank would take him out drinking. He would teach him to read these books, Angela Davis, Fanon, all the radical books. And Obama became very suspicious when he realized that he looked just like Davis. Davis gave him all this money and would always spend time with him. And there's a whole story about what happened. I'll tell you the story quickly. Is Keith Kakagawa was with Barry at the Ala Manoa Mall, and Barry saw the Kenyan Obama was in a sporting goods store. And Barry said to Keith, he said, I think that's my father from Kenya. I haven't seen him in one time when I was 10 years old. He said, no, that can't be your father. He said, yeah, that's him. I think that's him. And he ran up and talked to him, and the Kenyan Obama blew him off. He said, what are you doing here in Hawaii? He said, I'm just stopping over from Hong Kong on the way back to Kenya. Blew him off. And that's when Barry went on a rampage to his mother and to Frank and his grandfather saying, I knew it. Frank is my dad. Y'all lied to me. And this went on for about a week until it was finally told to Barry that he can't talk about it anymore. So that was the moment in high school when who told him to shut down and shut up? The grandfather told Barry not to talk about it in public anymore, that it's not something they wanted to talk about. So it was a big family secret that they kept for a long time. Barry found out about it and then was told not to talk about it anymore. And they kept that secret for years to come.
Wow. To this day, he must hate your documentary, Dreams from My Real Father. That's
Well, I'll
one.
tell you, I guess Rachel Gentile and Diamond Eugene and the the Martin family don't like the Trayvon hoax, but on the other hand, it does relieve them of a big lie, of the karma of the.
You did him a favor.
I think so.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Set them free.
Yes, you did. Joel, I'll be here if I can do anything for you. Just let me know. You know how to get in touch with me.
Okay,
Thanks for being here.
TrayvonHoax.com, everybody. The TrayvonHoax.com.
All righty.
Thank
Good night,
you so
Joel.
much.
Okay. Joel Gilbert. And I kid you not, if you haven't seen Dreams from My Real Father by Joel Gilbert, the truth about Barry Soetoro, you got to see it. All right. Back with more in just a few minutes.